Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down Miami. And one of the best ways we can possibly do that is to bring on this guy. There he is, the Holsum one. Join him on his YouTube channel for the best in Miami football coverage. We're talking the cornerback position first as we dive into the secondary with spring camp just about here. And when I think certain very athletic programs in the nation, the type of programs that you expect just to be freak athletes walking around all over the place, Miami would be one of them, LSU, Ohio State, Alabama, etc. And even though Miami's been down, still the athleticism's great. I think cornerbacks. When I think athleticism, I think wide receivers, cornerbacks right out of the gate. But the secondary depth has been pretty thin in recent years. You lose your best guy in Trajan Bandy, 9 passes defensed, and obviously he's been the alpha dog at the cornerback spot.
Oh yeah, and losing Trajan Bandy, you know, we've all been pretty critical of Trajan Bandy. He had a down year, and actually going into spring, I think based on my grading, I did some grading and watched every film plus minus that I did over on my channel. Go ahead and check that out. The 2019-2020 season review position by position, but the highest graded cornerback was actually Al Blades Jr. 6'1", 186-pound corner, you know, to be our number one corner going into the 2020 season. And the recruitment size are really growing at the cornerback position now, Mark. We got Al Blades Jr., who's 6'1", DJ Ivey, who's 6'1", Christian Williams, who's 6'1". You bring in Isaiah Dunston, who's 6'2". Then your nickel corners are Corey Couch, who's 5'10", and Marcus Clark, who's 5'10". You know, so now we're starting to get that look of everyone across the country, especially in the southeastern part of the country, have these big corners who people would think they're safeties, but they have the hips, the flexibility, and the technique to all play the cornerback position to match up with the increase of the size and speed of wide receivers over the last decade in football, period, from high school, college, and the NFL. Now the defense has rebounded. And now everyone's starting to get those 6-foot-plus corners. And Miami is starting to have those guys on our side of the ball too. The other side of that, we bring them in, we got to start developing them, and we have to also have them to produce. Now, I'm super excited for what we have going into 2020. Al Blades Jr., DJ Ivey, Christian Williams all have experience from this past season. Some good, some bad, but they have all grown in that. You throw them into the fire, one or two things are going to happen. You put them on the field and see the best that they can do. Al Blades, yeah, he gave up some touchdowns, but the latter half of the season, to where he started majority of our games as our number one corner, he did very, very well. Tallying up 21 solo tackles, 14 assists, 2 interceptions, and 6 pass breakups. You know, it's not the best, but it's very good for what he did here at Miami and just being thrown in as a true sophomore, going in to be a junior going into the 2020 season. You tally that up with DJ Ivey, someone who had to miss the first game of the season, but he still had 22 solo, 3 assists, 3 interceptions. He went through a nice stint of interceptions versus Florida State, versus Pittsburgh, versus Virginia Tech, where he had a nice closeness where he was making a lot of plays, and he also had 4 pass breakups this previous season. So both of those two have the stats. Now, to Corey Couch and Christian Williams, they didn't play as much. They were more special teams guys, but they did get chances to get in the game, get some film, get some experience, both at Hard Rock Stadium and in away games. So we're excited about that. And adding 2 more to them in Isaiah Dunston, who's coming in at 6'2", 180, and bringing in Marcus Clark, who's coming in at 5'10", 180. We're going to bring some nice competition and some nice depth to the cornerback position here at the University of Miami for spring 2020.